Yeah, let's go right to Tesla. It just crossed the Bloomberg terminal. First quarter adjusted EPS, folks, 41 cents a share, 7 cents better than what the street was expecting. That's adjusted EPS. First quarter gross margin coming in stronger than forecast, certainly a sign of profitability, 21.1% versus an estimate of 17.7%. First quarter revenue coming in slightly higher than what the street was forecasting, Tim, 22.39 billion. The street estimate was for 22.19 billion. Right now we're looking at shares of Tesla up about 1.75% in the aftermarket.
Okay, so some other headlines crossing the Bloomberg terminal. You mentioned free cash flow, but worth repeating because it is a redhead, Carol. First quarter free cash flow, 1.44 billion. The estimate was for a negative 1.86 billion. The Tesla communications around earnings are a slide deck, so it's kind of tough to go through. But Tesla says that the Cybercab, the Tesla Semi, the mega cap production starting in 2026, so that's this year. Tesla also saying the first gen production lines for Optimus, that's the humanoid robot, are being installed. Tesla also saying that Cybercab and the Tesla Semi are on schedule for 2026. The company says seeing its rebounds in demand for EMEA and North America. And we should note that the company also says that tailwinds are persisting for the U.S. autos business, and it received approval for full self-driving in the Netherlands in April.
All right, the stock, as you see, though, investors liking what it has to say about the first quarter in terms of a lot of those metrics actually looking better than forecast. And again, looking at some of the individual businesses, the company also saying it launched unsupervised robotaxi rides in Dallas and Houston. As you mentioned, tailwinds persisting for the autos business, first gen production lines for Optimus being installed. So much of the Tesla story is about what it's going to be done. It's classic vintage, if you will, at this point, Elon Musk. And we know we've talked a lot. We're anticipating the SpaceX IPO. Speculation, does everything get rolled into one company under the Tesla umbrella, whether it's the AI business, and how does everything work together? And that is certainly something we're watching and we'll be watching out for on the call today.
Yeah, on that, the question is about what the identity of this company is. Investors are not and have not for years valued it as a car company. Many people who are bullish on the company say it's about AI, it's about autonomy, it's about creating that fleet of robo-taxis. You mentioned that it launched unsupervised robo-taxi rides in Dallas and Houston. The company also saying that robo-taxi miles about doubled sequentially. That's a measurement that Waymo uses as well to indicate the scale.
Usage or testing or a little bit of both.
Exactly. Well, this is usage, right?
Yeah.
But not everywhere. And the rollout is not as far and wide as it is for Waymo.
Dana Hull on our live blog, senior reporter here at Bloomberg, has been covering Tesla. She's saying, Tesla's saying high up in the deck that demand has returned. Here's the quote: "We saw continued growth in demand for our vehicles in markets in APAC and South America, while also seeing a rebound of demand in both the emerging markets and also in Africa and in North America."
Okay, look at that. Tesla shares higher right now, as we mentioned, just by about 3.4%. First quarter adjusted gross margin, excluding regulatory credits, was 19.2%. That's up from 12.5% year over year. The headlines, though, that are important for our audience: Tesla first quarter adjusted earnings per share coming in above estimates at 41 cents. The estimate was for 34 cents. First quarter free cash flow, 1.44 billion. The estimate was for negative $1.86 billion.
All right, with us is Steve Mann, Global Autos and Industrials Research Manager at Bloomberg Intelligence. He joins us from BI headquarters in Princeton, New Jersey. Steve, come on in. Lots of moving parts, certainly when it comes to Tesla, but it was originally all about the EV business. We can get into other stuff later. How do you think they did in the quarter?
Earnings, like you said, earnings beat, actually not a big surprise, given that production was pretty high in the quarter, and I think positive free cash flow is great versus the negative free cash flow consensus was expecting. That's probably a function of the higher profit for the gross profit for the quarter. I think investors will like this. If I gleam into their investor deck, shareholder deck, they are ramping up the cyber robotaxi business. They have unsupervised ramp up over in 3 different cities, and then San Francisco area, they're actually have it running with a safety driver. So I think that's a good sign. I think that investors are pretty antsy about that. We're including myself. Like we're waiting and thinking like, are they how are they doing on this? So I think they're ramping up according to plan. What's also interesting, and we actually wrote about this, is that the rest of the world markets for their auto sales is improving. Rest of the
Yeah.
world basically excludes their three pillar markets, which is US, Europe, and China.
Mm.
So we saw they're actually doubling their footprint in Japan. South Korea sales been
Right.
up. They're starting to get into the India market, huge market potential. So let's hear what they have to say about the robot. I'm not as optimistic on the robot.